Hi, everyone. My name's Richard Halkett, and I'm the Director of Digital Innovation at Amazon Web Services. I'm joined here today by David Cohen, who's the Chief Product and Technology Officer of Greenway Health. First of all, welcome, David. David, maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Greenway Health.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. It's great to see you again. So as you said, my name is David Cohen. I'm the Chief Product and Technology Officer at Greenway Health. Greenway is a healthcare technology solutions and services provider for the U.S. Ambulatory market. We're part of the Vista Equity Partners portfolio. And for us, having that private equity element has been really helpful for us in terms of accelerating a lot of our product ambitions. I joined Greenway in 2019 and spent a year kind of reframing our product vision and strategy. And then last year had the opportunity to consolidate our product and technology organization under one umbrella. And I think having that consolidation has really helped us to accelerate our product roadmap, and then also has been a catalyst for us to pursue the partnership that we have with AWS.
Well, thank you, David. So that's a great introduction. So I'm looking back now over about the past sort of 18 months or so, and we've been working together with Greenway, with AWS, with you specifically, on a host of projects. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how we got started and how they've proceeded and where we are now.
Yeah, that's right. So our partnership with AWS and with the digital innovation team in particular started about 18 months ago. And Greenway, we play in a highly regulated environment, and quite honestly, Greenway, like a lot of companies, we struggled to keep up with those ever-changing rules and regulations. And we were investing a very significant portion of our product roadmap on regulatory, and quite honestly, we weren't seeing the rewards for those investments. And the old Einstein quote, that definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We knew that in order for us to break out of that and really look to leapfrog in the industry, that we would have to do something different. So we engaged with the digital innovation team, and that first project was really focused on building a data and analytics platform, which is a significant portion of the regulatory compliance program. And once we got some confidence then in building and working in a cloud-based environment, we had the ambitions last year during COVID to launch a telehealth product. And Greenway Telehealth was the first cloud-native product that we built at Greenway. And for us, it was a really great proof point that it's really possible for us to build cloud-native products in the timeline that we've all heard about in 12 to 16-week time horizon. And now we're started on a data center exit strategy, as well as other cloud modernization initiatives.
Well, it's quite the partnership, David, and thank you for being such a great partner to you and to your team, to the whole organization. It's interesting hearing you talk about that journey. It seems that there's been an interesting interplay between maybe two cloud-related stories, one around innovation and another one around migration, right? So in your mind, and again with your kind of the dual role that you perform for the organization, how do those two relate for you?
So yeah, you're asking a good question, Richard, about innovation, and that's a question that I get asked a lot. And I think for Greenway, we really need our projects to pay off. We don't necessarily have the luxury of taking big risks on projects, and I think it's important for companies to really understand their risk profile. And I think about innovation in three ways. And one of those is I always tell my team I'm okay being a fast follower. So we look at what are other companies in the industry doing, and we try to get there quickly. And then number two, I think about innovation in terms of Greenway being first of industry innovators and not necessarily first of kind innovators. And so in that regard, we look at what are other industries doing well and how can we bring that to healthcare. And certainly what we're seeing, across industries is this leveraging the cloud in different capacity to accelerate businesses. And then the third thing, for Greenway, having a cloud partner like AWS who is investing significantly in innovation, that allows us to leverage AWS as a partner to innovate, but not necessarily carry that same risk profile within our company. And then the other thing I'll say is, I really subscribe to this notion that for companies to be successful, we have to take actions that will position us for success. And I would liken that to the opening of a chess match, where having a really strong opening will position you well for the end game. So at Greenway and through our partnership with AWS, we're really looking at our cloud migration to be an accelerant for us from an innovation perspective. First in terms of having a modern platform that will deliver on the promises around organizational agility and speed to market and vision to value, but also looking at the breadth then of other capabilities that we can leverage within AWS once we have that platform established. So it's really kind of creating that potential for innovation with our cloud strategy.
That's really interesting, David. I think that story around the interplay between innovation and migration creating the platform for innovation, innovation driving the business case, the customer challenges, the delivery for the migration, I think is really, really fascinating. Now, one of the things that we're really focused on at Amazon is we're really focused on customer-centric innovation. So I wondered if that had resonated for you, and if you could share a couple of customer or business challenges that you'd identified and then responded to on your innovation journey.
Yeah, sure. So, in healthcare, like in most industries, if your business is not leveraging your data assets to better understand your business, you're likely going to lose. And in healthcare, for our clients, it's very important for them to have the right reports, dashboards, and analytics tools to make informed clinical, financial, and operational decisions. So, one of the projects that we've been working on in creating a data analytics platform on AWS to give our clients that insight. And one of the things that we talked about is positioning our clients for success. And the value of creating a data analytics platform on AWS means that we have full access then to SageMaker and other AI and machine learning tools that create new opportunities for us downstream and really unconstrained innovation opportunities. The other thing I'll say is that if your business is investing resources in projects that are not core to your business, you really just need to stop. And for healthcare organizations, they really don't need to be spending resources hosting servers in closets. And Greenway needs to be focused on developing and delivering healthcare technology solutions and services, not data centers. And that's one of the reasons why it's so valuable for us to be focused on, migrating our solutions and services to the AWS cloud so that we can invest our resources more effectively for our clients.
Now, one other thing that we've seen regularly, David, and I think you and I have talked about, is the fact that the technology is only one piece of this. It's a vital piece, but it's only one piece of this. If you're going to truly become and transform yourselves as an innovative, fast-moving organization and take full advantage of the cloud, then there are real organizational and cultural opportunities and challenges to address. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about what you've looked at, what you've learned, what you've adopted, and also critically, how you got leadership on board with this, because sometimes that can be one of the greatest challenges.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, Richard, because this has been for Greenway as much about culture and process transformation as much as it's been about a technology project. And working with the digital innovation team, we're very interested in not necessarily just copying, pasting, but identifying important process changes that we could adapt and make our own and pull into Greenway's process. And one of those things that we found to be particularly effective is this notion of working backwards, and in particular the PRFAQ, or press release and frequently asked questions documentation. So that's something where you work backwards, starting with the customer in mind and what business problem you're really trying to address with the customer, and then working that backwards to all the way to project kickoff. So throughout the entirety of the project, you maintain line of sight on what the end goal and what the success metrics really look like. So now we leverage that PRFAQ document on almost every project that we do at Greenway. And just last week, for example, I found it really interesting that our CFO was referring back to a press release document as a measure of success for one of our projects. And that's how I knew we kind of had gotten there from a culture transformation and getting the C-suite leadership team ingrained on the new process and new culture that we were introducing.
Well, that's fantastic. That's a fantastic story for it to be really beginning to get that ingrained in the decision-making culture. It's the working backwards. It's a fascinating mechanism, and we find it really helps to keep the customer at the center all the way through. So I'm just thrilled that it's had a similar effect for you in your own particular culture and environment. Now, David, on the other side, I'm sure there have been challenges along the way. There are going to be rough patches in this journey. Maybe are there any challenges you want to let everyone know about, and then how you managed to get around those challenges?
Yeah, the biggest challenge for us was really that workforce transformation piece. When we first engaged your team, Richard, we had never really worked in or operated in a cloud environment before. So that was something we knew going in was something that we were going to really need to be focused on. And the approach that we took to that was creating this build with, not build for philosophy. And by engaging with AWS ProServe and other partners, we really ingrained them into our team so that our team was able to come up to speed relatively quickly on how to develop in a cloud-based environment. And the other piece of that is also the talent acquisition piece. So Greenway was not necessarily experienced in attracting the right talent that we need. And certainly, I think you'll know you're on the right path as an organization when you start to come to this realization that you need roles that you never even knew existed before. So we found ourselves out there, hiring data scientists and cloud business office analytics or analysts, as well as cloud platform services engineers. So all these, different types of roles that became necessary for us as we transitioned our business into the cloud. So that was also another shift for us. But in working with our talent team, we were quickly able to pivot and find the right talent, as well as reskilling our workforce.
Well, those are certainly some significant challenges to overcome. So it'd be great to see the continued progress of Greenway on this journey. Now, David, I think probably my last question here really is, a lot of organizations see the potential here. They also perceive risk. And one of the big questions that we always get is, well, where do I start? How do you choose the right project? How do you ensure that you've got momentum? How do you ensure you're set for success? So do you have any advice for people who are potentially in your role in other organizations who are trying to champion this? They see the benefits, they do see the risk, and they're getting asked a lot of questions. How do you make sure that you're starting in the right place such that you, to your point about the opening of the chess game, you really do set the foundation for future success here?
Yeah, that's a great question, Richard, because, when we first started, I kind of had this vision of where we wanted to go as an organization, but didn't necessarily know, how we were going to get there. What I would, when I first came to Greenway, one of the first questions I had for our CTO at the time is, well, who are we working with from a cloud partner perspective? And his answer was, we're working with, all of them a little bit. And, I guess my framing there is, when you think you're working with all of the cloud partners, the reality is you're not really working well with any of them. And I kind of think about, this relationship like any other relationship, that you really have to be fully invested in it to realize the full value. And, when we really made a decision to be fully engaged with and partnered with AWS, I'm just really delighted about, the return that we got from AWS in terms of the investment that you guys have made in this partnership. And particularly, Richard, working with you and your team and the way you brought some of the process change and the working backwards approach, that really helped us to think about what is the primary business challenge that we need to solve with our clients, and then working that backwards towards getting a project kicked off and off the ground. So that was really great. And the other piece of advice that I have is, thinking back to the Teddy Roosevelt quote, which is, when faced with any decision, the best decision that you can make is the right one. The second best decision that you can make is the wrong one. But the worst decision that you can make is no decision. And certainly I've seen a lot of companies just take way too much time, evaluating different cloud partnerships and also, being way too concerned about vendor lock-in. One of the things at Greenway, I think the catalyst for us was making that decision that we were going to be fully engaged in working with AWS. And look, business today requires companies to be quick, to have speed, to have agility. And I think, making that decision has really enabled us to move forward in the market fairly quickly.
Well, those are great insights, David. I mean, it's interesting listening to you in our culture here at Amazon, thinking about our leadership principles. We do immediately think of bias for action, which I think you framed out really well there. And also what we call our right a lot, really making sure that you weigh all of the inputs you need to make the right decision. I think one thing you've selflessly not really covered is, I think that, individual leadership is a really important thing that we've seen here. And David, I think that we've seen great leadership from you, both within Greenway, but also in our partnership. So I want to thank you very much for that. And again, it's never an achievement of an individual, of course, it's always a team, but certainly it's important to have that vision and that drive right at the center. So we want to thank you for that partnership. More specifically, David, I want to thank you for your time, all the insights that you've shared. However often you and I speak, I learn something new every time, and it's hopefully it's delivered some rich insights to anybody who's going to be watching this. Thanks again. I really appreciate your time today, David.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. It's great talking to you.